Morning, Doctor.
Okay, good morning. All right, good morning. So everyone, hopefully you are ready. Yeah. So for today's we have Architecture as one of our speakers for our input lecture series for this semesters. Okay, so for today lecture input, Architecture is going to talk about the housing typology, which is important especially for our pre-thesis 1 students. Okay, because for this semester you are going to design and deal with the housing typologies. Yeah, for I think for thesis students, so for this lecture input, it's good for you as well, since some of you are dealing with the housing, and you can treat this lecture input as parts of your refresher course lah. Okay, because even though you have taken MBS 1019, all right, but because I think that architecture weren't with us before, okay, last time, so I think this is a good time for you to have these lecture input. Okay, so probably without further ado, shall we have architecture Norshahida? Good morning, architecture, and
Morning.
will share with us the lecture inputs on the housing typologies. Okay, yeah, over to you, architecture. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. PC, and to all students. So today I will be sharing with you on this housing typologies. I know most of you now, not most, all of you currently are working, so you might be familiar with the things that I'm going to present. But things that I want to share is more on the technicality part. Considering that the social culture is developing housing typologies. So you must know the do's and don'ts, the rules and regulations before you come out with your design. Because whichever typologies that you use, dia ada dia punya rules and the things yang akan mengikat dia lah. Okay, sebagai contohnya strata title. Okay, alright. So I will be sharing my slides. I'm not sure. Mungkin ada yang pernah dengar Tika pernah kot. Tika and Rachel. This is during the social culture with Dr. Mahmud. Okay. Okay, boleh nampak ya slide saya?
Yes, nampak.
Dia tak nak present. Okay, alright. So we'll be discussing and the topic on this housing typologies. Okay, are you guys ready? Can I get some response? Logisan, how are you? Imran?
Good, I'm good.
Ready.
Okay, alright. Okay, good. Okay. So what is housing typologies? Okay, is the housing typologies that is actually the different physical characteristic of a building according to the materials happen to be available on that particular place with a particular climate, cultural aspect, social status, and etc. etc. Okay, why do people make shelter? It's because we want to cover, to protect, or defend ourselves from harmful elements and changes. Okay, daripada weather kan, serangan-serangan binatang dan sebagainya. And currently because of pandemic kan, about 2 years ago where everyone has been ordered to stay at home and you cannot go anywhere during the first MCO. So that's why we need a shelter. What happen if we do not have this kind of shelter? So habislah bertaburan and mungkin the rising cases akan jadi lebih teruk dan sebagainya. And one of the main reason we need this shelter is because we want to have a comfortable living, a place that we call home. Okay, penat-penat kerja, balik rumah nak rest and so on and so on. So going back to home is something, is a place yang kita rasa comfortable, kita rasa boleh relax. Okay, it's a place that we are belong to. Okay, so there are a lot of different types of housing, not just in Malaysia, in all over the world. Okay, the first one is single detached. It's like a bungalow. Do you recognize this house? Kenal tak? Agak-agak kenal tak rumah ni? This is what they call is the Hook House in Portland, Oregon. This is a freestanding residential building. It means that the building does not share an inside wall with any other house. You all kenal tak rumah ni rumah siapa? Kenal tak? Tak kenal. Tengok tak cerita Twilight?
Tak tengok.
Tak tengok, mustahil. Inilah rumahnya. Okay, it's a contoh of this freestanding called a single detached bungalow dan sebagainya. Sometimes the terminology is different lah. Kalau macam mungkin kita panggil kat sini dekat overseas single detached, dekat Malaysia kita panggil di luar negara mungkin panggil bungalow, di Malaysia kita panggil single detached. Tetapi macam di contoh di Arab Saudi, mereka call this kind of house as villa. So different countries sometimes they have a different terminology. Okay, this is a single attached or duplex. Okay, it consists of pairs of houses side by side as a unit. They share a party wall. Ini macam semi-D lah kan? Semi-detached. Terrace house or townhouse, it's a row of identical houses that are joined together. Kalau di overseas mostly macam ni, tapi di Malaysia we have a different setting kan, dengan the different development. Normally it comes into a parcel but owned by one developer. Okay, a few parcels that owned by a developer. And then we have bungalow. It is a one-story house, usually surrounded by a veranda. And then this is a common typology in most countries, in most developed countries, Malaysia, China, US, and so on. It's apartment or condominium, where it is a multi-unit dwelling made up of several apartments or flats or condos within a building. So dalam satu development ni dia ada common property, dia ada apa dipanggil parcel dan sebagainya lah. Okay, this is what you are doing this semester, most of you. Okay, and then typologies of apartment is different. This is what we call as one bedroom apartment. And terminologies ini juga berbeza dengan setiap negara. For example, one bedroom yang kita namakan di Malaysia is that we consider that this particular bedroom sebagai satu lah. Tapi kalau macam di Singapore and a few other countries in overseas, okay, they count living room as also a room. So dia panggil typologies macam ni sebagai two room apartment, two bedroom apartment, something like that. Okay, so this is a sample of two bedroom apartment. This is quite common juga di Malaysia. We have this two bedroom, okay, dengan kitchen, living and dining, small veranda. So this is like a common typologies in Malaysia. And then we have three bedroom apartments, okay. Ada bedroom yang boleh memuatkan katil queen, a big one, second one, ini ada study room, workspace and so on. So this is the things yang perlu kita lihat lah on the possibility bagaimana sesebuah ruang itu boleh diperkembangkan. Okay, this is a bigger typology where it consists of 4 or 5 bedrooms apartment. So it depends bagaimana you classify or memilih you all punya target group. So itulah yang akan menentukan what kind of typologies that you want to apply in your housing scheme. We also have studio apartment. This is quite common and this has become some sort like a trend, and the developer claims that this is one of the way that you want to, memperbanyakkan asset and property, and it is they claim that it has quite a good return of investment and so on. So ini juga quite a demand, especially di negeri-negeri ataupun daerah yang membangun lah, contohnya seperti di Johor Bahru, di Kuala Lumpur, kalau di overseas di New York. Kalau di Jepun sangat-sangat popular this studio apartment kan, kalau kita tengok di Jepun dan Korea, because they live in the very small rooms yang ada semua benda dalam tu. So konsep yang sama jugalah di-apply. So nowadays in Malaysia the demand is quite good, so that's why the developer has the eagerness to build more and more and more of studio apartments. Okay, another one is penthouse. Okay, penthouse ni sangat mahal lah, and normally dia akan duduk di yang tingkat paling atas sekali. So it is a very expensive apartment on the top floor of a building, and it occupies the entire floor. Okay, so kalau mungkin dekat floor-floor yang bawah tu adalah 2, 3, 4 unit Tapi untuk this penthouse, the whole floor tu is belongs to one owner. And normally this kind of penthouse dia akan ada dedicated lift dan sebagainya lah. Okay, you can see that this is Saint Marie Residence. Dia ada boleh nampak KLCC. Of course kalau rumah-rumah yang nampak KLCC ni pun kita tahulah harga dia bagaimana. Satu square foot dia punya harga pun dah uh, ribu-ribu lah. Okay. Okay, this is mentioned. Okay, mentioned. It is a very large and stately dwelling house for the wealthy. Ini kita banyaklah nampak. Contohnya di area Damansara, di area Hartamas kalau di KL. Kalau di Johor Bahru ni, kita, di area Straight View, kita ada nampak lah all this I mentioned. Tapi tidaklah sebesar ini. Okay, ini macam dia pergi dekat Florida, macam gambar ni lah. Okay. Okay, and then a mobile house. Okay, mobile house or they call it a large caravan that can be installed on a permanent site, and that is used a residence also called manufactured home. So another things that has become a trend nowadays kalau kita lihat there's a container kan, container houses, container hotel and so on yang telah ditransform to become a dwelling. So ini juga ada satu possibility lah. Kalau kita tengok lagi satu, kerajaan bangunkan macam perumahan untuk orang banjir dan sebagainya, sometimes they use these kinds of method of construction because ianya cepat, lebih mudah dan murah lah. Okay. Another one is shop house. Okay, shop house is very common, especially in the early settlement in Malaysia, in Penang, in Melaka, in Johor Bahru, kan. Banyak daerah negeri-negeri yang ada this kind of shop house. Okay, so it consists of shops on the ground floor, and then open to public in a covered passage and has residential accommodation upstairs. The shop houses would adjoin each other to form rows with regular facade. It is a vernacular style building building type that is commonly seen in areas such as urban Southeast Asia. So these shop houses telah melalui fasa-fasa evolusi sehingga yang kita nampak hari ini lah. Tapi kalau kita lihat shop houses nowadays dia tidak begitu popular, dia more kepada shop office kan, because kawasan security dan sebagainya sama lah seperti settlement ataupun early settlement di zaman dahulu. Okay, another thing that quite popular students suka nak buat is Soho, Solo, apa benda semua ni. Okay, so dia ada perbezaan dengan housing typologies yang saya nyatakan tadi. Especially dari segi jumlah unit yang you akan provide. Kalau contoh macam kondominium dan sebagainya, kita perlu melihat kepada density yang dibenarkan oleh pihak berkuasa tempatan. Tetapi ia berbeza untuk Soho. Okay, kita akan lihat sekejap lagi. Okay, so ini adalah contoh lah. Soho, Solo, whatever things yang you count. Dia ada setting macam office, dia ada hall, and then the dining table dan sebagainya. Okay, what's the difference between all this? Okay, Soho, dan Solo. Okay, they are all designed and optimized for commercial purpose. Remember, the keyword here is a commercial purpose. Okay, they have unique traits which set them apart from each other. So, for example, Soho. Okay, Soho is a small home office where residential dominates, meaning it is a home that allows a workplace to be incorporated. They are modest in size, designed with bedrooms, full fitted bathroom and living area. But Soho is a small office, flexible office that offers enhanced flexibility in terms of design. Occupants can either use it for residential or commercial or both. There are usually no partition for owners to customize the space according to their preference. So the open saja, dia macam open plan lah with a particular point and possibility nak letak pantry and so on. Okay, and then we have Soho. Soho is a small office, virtual or versatile office that are well suited for commercial purpose. They are built and designed to cater to business startups as they have the required facilities for business operations to be done. The only downside to this is that all utility bills are charged based on commercial rate, which are generally higher than residential. Okay, these terms are loosely defined, branding used as marketing tools. Okay, the definitions do not come from the authorities, thus it is up to the developer to decide what to name their products. So these products started to emerge in the market upon the passing of the Strata Title Act to cover stratified landed development and the amendment of the Housing Development Control and Licensing Act in 2007. Before we go further, I would like to ask, are you guys familiar with this Strata Title? Yang dah thesis ni saya tahu mereka dah familiar. Kalau dia kata tak familiar, kita suruh dia ulang balik nanti. What about the rest? Familiar a bit. Logeson, what about you?
Not really.
Not really. Have you involved in any housing development
Not
project?
strata title, not high-rise housing.
Not high rise. Okay. Nanti you all kena baca-baca jugalah this strata title because you are doing this project at the moment. Oh, I don't have my strata title with me right now because it consists of general so general information saja to you all. Dalam strata title it consists of strata title, nak mudah kita faham strata title that each unit tu kita akan call dia sebagai parcel. Okay, so dia consists of parcel and also accessory parcel. Parcel tu rumah you lah, but accessory parcel ni macam car parks, macam you punya balcony, aircon latch dan sebagainya, where it is a parcel that is exclusively used for the tenant ataupun buyer lah for that particular unit ataupun parcel. Okay, so kalau katalah you nak buat flexible housing, mungkin adalah di antara you akan come out with the typology nak buat flexible house. So dia akan question lah nanti bila you nak kata flexible house, siapa yang akan bayar dia punya fees ataupun maintenance fees dan sebagainya for the area yang dia akan extend. So dia akan ada isu dari aspek itulah. So you have to think bagaimana nak solve ataupun nak menjawab persoalan-persoalan yang biasanya panel akan lontarkan with this kind of flexible housing. But it is a good things to explore. Okay, and then this is about 7 things that you need to consider about service apartment, Soho, or Soho. Okay. The first one is on loan terms. Okay, the long terms dia berbeza daripada housing biasa ataupun kondo. Okay, and then in terms of the legal protection and also SPA. And then in terms of the assessment tax and utility charges is different. It's based on the commercial title, not on the housing charges. And then goods and service tax is different. And then density. Okay, density. So kalau nanti saya akan cerita lebih detail in the next slide. On the density where kita akan dapatkan daripada jumlah unit lah, allowable units that you boleh develop dalam satu housing scheme. Tadi ada soalan. What different between with balcony in main parcel and accessory parcel? Kalau unit tu ada balcony dan automatically dia memang ada accessory parcel lah. Kalau unit tu tidak ada balcony dan maksudnya dia tak ada accessory parcel. So accessory parcel ni yang dia akan menambahkan jumlah fees bayaran untuk satu unit. For example parking. Okay, parking kalau yang ada satu lot parking ataupun 2 lot parking yang disediakan, itu dikira sebagai accessory parcel. So the difference between this main parcel and accessory parcel is that main parcel you boleh buat apa you suka dari segi dalaman lah. Okay, because kalau kita faham that this condominium, internal wall tu belongs to us. But the external wall tu belongs to the community. So kalau katalah the housing scheme tu dia menggunakan monochrome color kan. Ni macam normal banyak kita nampak. Tapi tak minat. So mungkin untuk particular unit you sahaja luarnya you nak cat hijau. Tak boleh lah because dia adalah kawasan yang apa tu pun dinding yang belongs to the community, not you, even though that you are the owner of that building. Okay, so accessory parcel ni kita tidak boleh suka-suka nak ubah sesuai dia. For example, you ada balcony kan, and then you rasa I rasa living I ni kecil lah. Because of this pandemic, I need space for office. So you nak turn you punya balcony into you punya office space. So kata I nak pasang glass, I nak pasang dinding and so on, tak boleh because it is accessory puzzle. Okay, contoh yang ringkas yang mudah kita nak faham macam katalah you kan ada parking kan. Parking tu is you punya accessory puzzle. Tapi boleh tak you nak extend you punya parking tu, for example you ada 2 lot parking, okay. Tapi you cakap ya I ada satu kereta je and then this another lot ni I tak nak gunakan dia sebagai car park. I nak letak drywall and whatever, I nak jadikan dia store. Tak boleh lah. Okay, because memang you punya, tapi dia ada rules, house of rules yang kita perlu patuh. This is what we call as accessory puzzle. Okay. Alright, and then item 7 is on the investment risk lah. So setiap different typology ni nak buat soho ke, dia ada investment risk dia. Okay, so berbeza. So it depends on the brandings yang ditetapkan oleh pihak developer. Okay, loan terms. We talk about loan terms. Okay, service apartment and Soho, all this, okay, units it's built on the commercial land. Okay, so dia bukan a land yang di kata orang tu memang dah ditetapkan kalau kita tengok dalam rancangan tempatan dan sebagainya, dia punya plot tu for housing. No, it is built on commercial land. So that's the beauty of it. Bila dia falls under this commercial land, so cara kita nak mengirakan jumlah unit tu dah berbeza. So, sebab tu kita boleh guna Soho dan sebagainya. Thus, they are subject to commercial loan terms which are normally less favorable to a normal buyer as the loan amount is lower compared with the housing loan. Okay, so susah sikit lah. Okay, and then for instance, it is common to get a 90% loan to value LTV for residential homes. However, the LTV for commercial property loans usually range from 80 to 85% as banks are more cautious when when financing these commercial properties. So if you nak buy all this Soho, jangan berangan nak dapat 100% loan lah. You kena ada the deposit of it, some money before you buy this typologies. Jadi kalau you nak kata you nak buat Soho ni untuk for example B40 and so on, so dia tidak menepati lah kan. So sebab tu kita kena tahu ciri-ciri of this housing sebelum kita propose kita punya design. Okay, in terms of legal protection, okay, this service apartment and Soho, dia ada dia punya standard sales or purchase agreement yang mana dia falls under jurisdictions of Housing Development Act, HDA, as these properties are partially or wholly used for dwelling purpose. Sebab dia ada dwelling. So dia dah nyata kat situ dia punya sifat adalah shop office, home office. Okay. Soho and Soho units do not have standard SPA as they are not regulated under under the Housing Development Control and Licensing Act. Okay, Soho and Soho are essentially office and not meant for dwelling purpose, so these property are not covered in the Act. So commercial land use under the National Land Code does permit residential usage. Hence, if these properties are for permanent resident usage, it will be subject to the local authorities' regulation. So buyers of Soho and Soho will have to sign non-standard SPA with developer, which are drafted by the developer and their lawyer. Notable, these non-standard SPA are not regulated under this HDA. Hence, if a buyer of such property faces certain issue, they are not entitled to seek legal redress through the National Housing Tribunal, which is an alternative platform created by the Parliament for the protections of house buyer. So di situlah bezanya. Itu macam kalau you dah beli rumah dah lama kan, ada isu-isu kad dan sebagainya, you contact developer tak nak bertanggungjawab. This is when we found out on the latent defect. Okay, we have 2 types of defect, patent defect and latent defect. So patent defect is something that you can see right away. Okay, for example macam cracking, boleh nampak, and then ada bila kita dah pindah-pindah masuk kan kita ada DLP period kan, dalam tempoh 2 tahun. Everything tu boleh kita lihat dalam tempoh itulah. But this latent defect is something that happens mungkin way dalam tempoh yang kemudian. For example macam ada structure failure dan sebagainya. So when you ask the developer for rectifications, dia tak layan and so on, you can bring the issue to the housing tribunal. Okay, because in housing tribunal mana-mana pihak tidak boleh diwakili oleh lawyer, tetapi you are representing yourself. Developer kena datang sendiri, tak boleh bawa dia punya architect ke, tak boleh bawa dia punya lawyer ke, And you pun datang sini to discuss the issue, and tribunals akan menetapkan lah bagaimana jalan penyelesaian yang terbaik. Okay. So kalau you beli SOFO yang tidak yang commercial title ni, dia tak tertakluk under DHDA. So any issues yang related atau permasalahan yang timbul akan jadi susah sedikit lah because it's commercial title. Okay, clear ya for that one? Okay, in terms of assessment tax and utility charges, SOHO and SOFO units are subject to commercial assessment, quit rent and telephone electricity charges which are higher than residential. So according to TNB website, ini yang dulu, okay, the minimum monthly electrical charges for low voltage commercial premise adalah RM7.20 compared to RM3 for private dwelling which does not carry out any form of commercial activities. So nampak dia lebih daripada dua kali ganda charges dia. Okay, so maksudnya you nak letak deposit untuk you nak onkan you punya electricity pun tinggi, monthly and everything pun akan jadi lebih tinggi. So that's why dia more in terms of for investment lah for this kind of housing typologies. Okay. And then the official website of Syarikat Bekalan Air Selangor shows that the minimum water tariff for commercial usage is RM36 per month compared with the RM6 for domestic usage. You pakai ke air kat rumah tu, dia akan charge RM6. Tapi kalau untuk commercial title, dia akan start with RM36. So you boleh calculate lah berapa banyak kali ganda tu. About 5 times, kan? 5 to 6 times. Okay. Meanwhile, the assessment rates for commercial properties is also higher than for residential properties. For example, the Shah Alam City Council imposed 4% and 3% assessment rate on landed and stratified residential properties, respectively, but charges 5% on service apartment. Local authorities in different areas have different rates on property assessment. Okay, so lebih tinggi lah charges dia. Okay, ini contoh ya, electricity tariff untuk this commercial, untuk this property and also commercial kalau you tengok. So lebih mahal lah kan unit per sen. Kalau untuk the first 200 kilowatt, okay, dia RM21.80. For the next 100 kilowatt is RM33.40. The next 300 is RM51.60. Tapi kalau you tengok the first 200 untuk this commercial property ada RM43.50. The next kilowatt dah RM50.90. So banyak beza dia very big. So bukan sahaja you beli rumah tu harga dia mahal, tak boleh dapat finance 100%, tapi juga on the monthly commitment yang perlu dibayar adalah tinggi. Sebab itu kalau you nak propose this kind of typologies, you perlu lihat target group yang betul. Okay, kena match lah. Kalau untuk yang entrepreneur, professional dan sebagainya, okay, mungkin bolehlah kita apply. Okay. In terms of good and service tax, according to the Royal Malaysian Custom guidelines and also land and property development, the SOHO is treated as commercial property as is developed on commercial land and as such is subject to the goods and service tax. SOHO can only be treated as residential property and exempted from GST if the following conditions are fulfilled. Okay. Development order is issued for mixed development purpose, for example, commercial and residential by the relevant authority. And then the approved layout plan and approved layout building is for dwelling purpose. Okay. And then the housing development license and also the sales and advertisement permit are issued under the Housing Development Act by the Ministry of Urban, Wellbeing, Housing and Local Government, or under the Housing Development Ordinance by the Ministry of Housing Sarawak, or under Housing Development Enactment by Housing Sabah, Local Government and Housing Sabah. Okay. The property developer and the buyer enter into a sales purchase agreement for a property covered under the Housing Development Act. Okay. Meanwhile, service apartments sold both in the primary, secondary residential purpose exempted from GST according to the RMC. So in addition, for instance, if service apartment used for commercial usage in residential premise are rented out with certain central management, multiple occupancy, and short-term stay offering with servicing such as housekeeping, laundry, telephone, and utilities, they are subject to GST. However, the provisions of long-term accommodations under a lease of rental agreement will be exempted, and then the guidelines on GST and the RMC reads. On the other hand, okay, SOVO and SOFO units are subject to GST as these are commercial properties which are listed as standard rated supply and this property cannot be exempted from GST. The maintenance fee on service apartment, SOHO and SOFO are also subject to GST and there is no discount or exemption. Contoh kalau you duduk dekat kondo kan, you bayar punya maintenance fee kan. Maintenance fee is about dia akan kira berapa ringgit per square feet. Okay, contohlah RM2.50 per square feet. You akan kira lah rumah you berapa kaki persegi. For example, it's 900. Ada kondominium lagi mahal lah. Okay, dia punya monthly, dia punya kaki persegi. Let's say 900, sorry, ni bukan RM2.50, dia buat per sen macam tu, 1 square feet. Kali 25 sen. Okay, katalah 20 sen untuk setiap kaki persegi kan. 900 square feet times 25 cents dan 225 lah yang you kena bayar untuk you punya maintenance fee. And the sinking fund is 10% of it kan. And then kalau for the SOHO and SOVO, the total of that you kena tambah lagi dengan GST. Okay, dia punya service maintenance fee. Okay, however, for SOHO that fulfills the conditions by RMC, it is treated as a residential property. The maintenance fee on the unit will no longer be subject to GST. Okay, about this density, one of the reasons developer built SOHO, SOHO, and SOHO project is that they can build more units and on commercial land and not have to adhere to the strict condominium regulations on density. Okay, sebab tu kalau you all buat housing, kita akan tanya, berapa density untuk site ini? Kata, kalau dia kata 1 ekar, let's say 1 to 200, okay, 1 to 200, which means 1 ekar boleh build 200 unit. Okay, so maksimum you boleh pergi berapa tingkat tu adalah mengikut kepada bilangan unit. Okay, kalau katalah satu floor you akan ada 20 unit, so you boleh pergi sehingga 10 tingkat sahaja, tak boleh lebih kalau tanah tu 1 ekar lah. Kalau 2 ekar dan sebagainya, so it depends kepada density. Kalau ada setengah-setengah tanah yang mahal, memang government control and so on, so dia akan kata 1 ekar 80 unit, 1 ekar 100 unit, so it depends. Okay. Macam site di sini berapa Emran? Dia punya density? Dia dah buat site analysis ni. Berapa density?
Plot ratio bila mas?
800 per acre.
Density. Okay.
Kalau masa tu analysis tulis yang kalau low cost 20 story je. Lepas tu kalau high cost punya 30 story akan number. Tapi kalau based on plot ratio 1:6, kalau ikut din setback semua around 25 story je kot mampu.
25 story, depend. Tapi biasa housing dia pasti ikut density. You kena cari. Berapa tadi Nazmi? 400 ya?
Tu 800.
Okay. So 1 ekar 400 unit. So dia boleh pergi up to that lah. So dia akan, kalau dia ada guidelines kata okay untuk media boleh pergi berapa tingkat. So that is the cut off point. Okay. Kalau katalah unit semua besar-besar. Maksudnya kalau ikut density boleh pergi lebih tinggi. Tapi dia dah bagi tahu dah cut off point dia berapa tadi Emran? 20 unit, 20 tingkat?
20 tingkat.
22 tingkat. So cut off point dia dekat situ. Okay, so dia kena in reference to all these regulations lah. Kena tally kan. Okay, so berbeza dengan this commercial land, kalau kita buat SOHO dia semua, you boleh bina berdasarkan plot ratio. So dia tidak terikat kepada tingkat, tidak tingkat kepada unit dan sebagainya. As long as you punya GFA and NFA dia masih mengikut plot ratio, then it's fine. Sebab tu developer suka. Sebab dia boleh jual lebih banyak unit. Lebih banyak income dia dapat. ROI yang lebih tinggi. Okay. So in Selangor for instance, residential property developments are built based on unit, okay? Dalam range 60 to 80 per acre. Are you sure siapa nama Nazmi 400 unit per acre ke? Biasa dia 100 pun paling tinggi 1,5. 400 je tinggi sangat tu. Boleh check balik tak?
400 orang puan, bukan 400 unit.
400 orang.
Ah.
Okey, 400 orang. So density dia berapa? Berapa unit? Tak ada. Tak ada dinyatakan. Ada tak? Okay, nanti you all check balik boleh Okay. So in contrast, commercial development are based on plot ratio, which is kalau macam dekat Selangor kebanyakan 1:4 lah. Okay, the plot ratio can be higher for developments close to public transportation such as mass rapid transit station. Developer gets permission to build SOHO based on the plot ratio 1:4 for a 1 acre site about 44,000 square feet. Developer is allowed to build 176,000 square feet in terms of the plot area. And if the developer builds SOHO units for 500 square feet each, the number of units to be built would be 352, a figure which is much higher than the 60 to 80 units allowed per acre for residential development. So dekat sini lah kita nampak dia punya perbezaan dan kenapa developer suka sangat dia SOHO dan SOHO ni. Sebab dia boleh jual lebih banyak, dapat return lebih baik dan sebagainya lah. Okay. In terms of this property management, there is a need to form a management corporation ataupun MC to oversee the management of a strata property once the developer hands over the strata title, and it is common knowledge that property management plays a crucial part in sustaining the value of a property. Given the SOHOs are high density project, the property management face a lot of challenges as they could be anywhere between 200 and 400 owners in a single SOHO or SOHO building. For the demographics of a mixed use project, where SOHO and SOHO properties are usually part of may be diverse and complicated if they are occupied by all types of residents from single, couple, students, office owner to even foreign workers. So in terms of this management risk, when it comes to investing in SOHO, one needs to be cautious and choose properties in location with good connectivity and amenities. SOHO, and solo are the product that were not created out of demand but rather out of a population that could not afford to buy homes being built. Okay, so this SOHO and solo units is to create a perception that they are within the affordable range to attract buyers with limited budget. Okay, so kena lihat the possibility in terms of this investment risk. Okay, so this is a difference, okay, between service apartment, SOHO, and also SOHO. Kalau kita tengok service apartment, dia punya property title adalah commercial. Utility bills dia mengikut commercial rate, and in terms of SPA dia ada HTA, and legal protection dia also ada HTA. Same goes to SOHO, small office, home office. Okay, that is small units with both residential and workspace incorporated into the layout. So ni semua dia fall ada commercial rate, dia governed by HTA, but for the SOHO and SOHO, okay, it is commercial rate but it is not governed by Housing Development Act. Okay, so dia menggunakan in terms of the SPA menggunakan developers punya own SPA. Okay, ada apa-apa soalan?
Puan.
Yang lain? Okay. I think ada satu pelajar saya, Wan nak buat student housing kan? So this student housing dia tidak fall under this SPA dan sebagainya because it's rental kan? Kalau kita tengok yang housing typologies yang saya ceritakan ni tadi, dia more kepada ownership. Yang mana you jual, ada melibatkan jual dan beli. Tapi for housing, student housing, dia akan di-govern by satu entity ataupun satu organisation yang akan menjaga dan juga mengawal selia for that particular building lah. Okay, jadi student can come and go. So it's different. Tapi this lecture input yang saya share hari ni is for your knowledge lah, for your knowledge. Bila you bekerja nanti, kalau you ada buat projek-projek housing, so you faham lah kenapa developer eager sangat nak buat all this Soho, whatever things ni, nak studio apartment semua tu kenapa, ada reason. Okay. Ada apa-apa soalan lagi yang lain? Okay, just
Samir.
Ya. Silakan. You can turn on your mic.
Sorry. Untuk density, kita
Ya.
unit of proportion, saya nak pastikan. Untuk pengiraan density.
Macam mana?
Untuk pengiraan density, kita per unit atau persen?
Unit.
Per acre?
Unit.
Unit.
Contohnya, site kita berapa ekar? 2 ekar. Kalau dia kata 80 unit per ekar, maksudnya you boleh build sehingga 80 kali 2 lah. 160 unit saja. So, this 160 unit, kalau you ada 3 typology, mungkin akan kira lah berapa. Mungkin ada typology A yang paling kecil, you nak buat 900. Lepas tu, you nak buat yang second typology, you nak buat 1000. Ataupun 1100. Ataupun lagi satu typology yang besar sedikit, 1002, harga lain. Ataupun you nak buat yang smaller size punya, nampak you start with 850. 850 and then you buat 950. It depends lah. But dia akan count on the total of unit. Because kenapa? Nanti bila kita buat submission ke pihak authority, kita perlu nyatakan berapa unit yang ada dalam kita punya development housing tu. Okay, kita akan mengemukakan contoh cadangan membina dan menyiapkan sebuah kondominium yang mengandungi berapa ratus unit, okay, beserta apa-apa dia punya facilities lah. Kita nyatakan dalam tajuk projek kan. Okay, sebab tu kita perlu lihatlah, authority akan tengok, okay, number of unit ini tally tak dengan acre. So untuk this housing, kalau memang land for housing, memang dia akan ada nyatakan density. So you kena find out lah. Kalau tak pun you boleh refer the nearby housing yang dalam kawasan yang sekitar, berapa density dalam guidelines pihak DPKL. Okay? Sama. So mungkin dekat site tu tak dinyatakan because that site is belong to UTM. Sebab tu dia tak nyatakan berapa density for that site. Tetapi you perlu lihat the neighborhood context, the neighborhood site, site yang paling dekat yang dia pun title tu untuk housing, agak-agak berapa density yang dibenarkan oleh pihak DPKL. So kita boleh jadikan itu sebagai rujukan. Sebab most of you banyak yang buat housing yang memang rumah tau, PPR untuk medium cost dan sebagainya. So dia memang tertakluk dengan density. Okay? Ada soalan lain lagi? Ryan, any question?
Students, any question? Because you are going to develop your housing unit after this. So please ask Architect Shah before
Puan,
you proceed.
nak tanya lah Puan.
Ya.
Okay, let's say kalau kata dia based on population density, let's say katalah 400 per acre, 400 person per acre, macam mana kita 400 person per acre, maksudnya kalau let's say untuk site B dia 2 acre, so dia 800 orang per acre lah. So, and then macam mana kita nak tahu satu unit tu untuk provide berapa orang? Dia lain majlis, dia lain requirement ke atau dia standard satu Malaysia?
Okay, selalunya density ni kalau macam DPKL lah, sepanjang saya bekerja, saya involved dengan DPKL. Memang dia ada guidelines berapa density. Yang 400 tu dapat daripada mana Nazmi?
Di BKL lah. Daripada site study yang site analysis yang present hari tu.
Sebab saya tak ada. Boleh tak share dengan saya nak tengok sekejap.
Sekejap
Yang guideline daripada DPKL tu. kita boleh buat assumption lah. Okay, kadang-kadang kita boleh buat assumption berapa number of family dalam satu-satu isi rumah. Because kebanyakan di Malaysia ni standard kan.
Sekejap
Boleh count dalam 5 macam tu lah. Okay, so betul lah tu. 80 unit lah tu.
80.
Okay. Ini population density, ini 400 ni orang Dia cakap orang kan? Okay. Sebab ini dia mengambil kira purata rakyat Malaysia satu keluarga 5 orang.
5 lah. Okey lah.
So kalau you calculate 400 bagi 5 kan 80 unit satu. Betul
Okay.
tu kan tadi saya cakap 60 to 80 kan?
Okey.
Okay.
Okey.
Okay, ada apa soalan lagi?
Assalamualaikum, Madam.
Salam.
Okay, saya nak tanya lah. Kalau let's say kita go to for modular punya konsep, so how do we put typology tu, housing tu, adakah macam mana pembahagian unit dia? Sebab kalau kita modular ataupun fleksi ni kan dia akan berubah-ubah. So macam mana yang kontrol benda tu?
Yang control you punya apa? Unit ke modular?
Yes. Yeah. Unit dan modular.
Okay. Modular ini dia depends on bagaimana you nak emphasize satu-satu unit atau yang itu you nak namakan dia sebagai satu modul. Okay. Mungkin you nak buat modular tu dari segi grid ataupun satu kotak, and then dia akan bila comes to another unit dia akan gabung menjadi 2 modul. Kan, possibility macam tu. So, 2 modul tu you gabungkan menjadi satu. Tak kisah you buat macam mana you define that, itu dari segi architecture approach. Okay. Tapi bila kita membina satu housing typologies, kita perlu follow kepada guidelines yang disediakan oleh authority on terms of the number of unit. So, katalah modular itu you buat, I'm not sure. For example, you nak buat satu modul tu dalam 8x8. For example, kalau housing besar sangat ni. 600 lah, katalah 600 not 600, 6,000. 6,000 times 6,000 kan. That is for untuk satu studio. Mungkin you nak bermula daripada situ. So untuk yang seterusnya dia akan menggunakan this same module kotak yang sama 6x6. So ada certain unit ada 2, ada certain unit 3, ada certain unit 4. So tak kisah you buat macam mana modular tu, as long as gabungan tu menjadi dikira sebagai satu unit lah.
Dia tak ada, faham? Maksudnya dia tak ada kekangan dari segi keluasan unit tu lah.
Tak ada. Dia dikira based on unit. Number of unit. Bukan number of area. Tapi dia ada control lah sebab kalau tengok tadi yang slide yang Nazmi share tadi tu kan. Okay, kan ada plot ratio dan juga density. Okay, density tu adalah untuk kita control number of unit because this is housing development. Okay, maksudnya dia punya ceiling lah. Okay, ceiling unit berapa yang kita boleh go to the maximum. Sebab nak buat housing tinggi-tinggi ni cost dia banyak. So lebih banyak unit, so dia akan mengurangkan lagi dari segi harga rumah. Kan? Okay. But then, kita juga perlu lihat in terms of the plot ratio. Yang mana dia punya total NFA itu masih lagi di dalam zone yang dibenarkan oleh pihak authority. So you kira lah berapa you punya plot ratio for 1:4 kan?
1:6.
1:6.
Okay, sorry. So 1:6. So you kira lah berapa ekar? 1 ekar, you punya berapa ekar? 1 point ke 2 ekar?
Lebih kurang
2 ekar.
Okay, so 2 ekar tu you convertkan kepada square feet lah. Okay, you convertkan kepada square feet, you times 6. So total NFA you, not NFA, GFA. Total GFA itu mestilah tidak melebihi daripada jumlah plot ratio yang ditetapkan.
Baik. So maknanya berapa besar pun, berapa banyak unit pun kontrol dia satu plot ratio, yang kedua adalah density lah.
Ya, betul. Density untuk kita kontrol bilangan unit. Okay. Plot ratio untuk kita kira, untuk kita kontrol the development area. The total development area.
Okay. Total development area termasuk common area ke dengan yang
Yes,
lain-lain?
all together. Semua sekali. GFA, gross floor area.
Ada saya ada satu soalan kaitan dengan
Okay.
password tadi. Say kalau kita ada backup macam yang saya cadang nak buat lah. We extend the building ke apa kan. So regarding balcony ataupun common space boleh ke kalau kita once owner beli and then dia beli sekali dengan that part of contohnya balcony lah. So maknanya memang dia tak boleh nak buat apa-apa lagi dekat balcony tu, extend ke apa ke tak boleh lah.
Ya. Memang tak boleh buat extension.
Ada ke law yang dari segi ni ada sudut ke yang kata dia tak boleh buat, let's say lah kalau contoh dia beli rumah tu ada kawasan yang kosong yang developer tak develop tapi dia haskan untuk owner buat lah apa-apa nak buat
Tak ada.
apa-apa, boleh ke?
Tak boleh.
Oh tak boleh lah.
Sebab apa? Bila kita kira harga untuk kita bayar maintenance fee dan sebagainya, sebenarnya dia punya rate, rate untuk ataupun kadar bayaran per square feet itu telah mengambil kira dari segi berapa banyak common property, kawasan common property dan sebagainya. So, common property maksudnya ada ruang-ruang kosong yang tidak digunakan itu sebenarnya not belongs to you or not belongs to any owner, tetapi it belongs to the community of that housing area. Faham tak? Maksudnya walaupun contohlah rumah you special sikit floor dia depan tu sepatutnya ada unit kalau di tingkat-tingkat lain, tapi untuk you punya tingkat depan tu kosong. So bila kosong you pun rasa ini kita boleh buat tempat lepak ni. You pun tambahlah dinding lah, drywall lah, apalah. Tak boleh sebab itu bukan belongs to you. Itu belongs kepada jiran lain, blok lain. Semua tu pun dia ada hak ke atas unit, ke atas kawasan tu.
Okay, semaknanya orang yang letak pokok dekat atas slab lepas balcony tu kira salah lah.
Ya, salah. You tak boleh letak pokok-pokok kesukaan you di sepanjang koridor. Tidak dibenarkan.
Ya. That's baik.
Okay. Tetapi ada cara yang boleh digunakan. Contohnya, mungkin ada unit-unit macam kawasan yang developer mungkin dia tutup dululah supaya tak nampak. Tapi kalau you nak extend, you kena beli. Beli kemudian. Itu ada possibility. Tapi you tak boleh bagi. Okay, contoh ni sebagai satu contoh lah. You pernah sampai Johor Bahru?
Pernah, saya orang Johor.
Oh, orang Johor, Alhamdulillah. Pernah pergi CIAS kan?
Pernah.
Okay. You pernah tak pergi CIAS masa baru-baru dia buka dengan CIAS yang sekarang?
Oh, yang baru ni tak, jarang.
Okay, nak kata baru pun tak baru sangat lah. About 5
years back.
years back is good enough. Pernah pergi?
Tak.
Tak pernah juga. Okay. Tak apa, saya ceritakan sedikit. Kalau kita tengok City Square, masa dia mula-mula buka, dia nampak besar kan kat luar. Tapi bila kita masuk dalam, kita rasa besar. Tapi to certain extent, dia rasa dia boleh expand dan dia telah membuka ruang-ruang yang dia sembunyikan selama ni.
Oh, ya.
Perasan tak?
Oh, ya. Betul.
Kan? Sebab dulu-dulu macam, ruang ni daripada mana? Tak ada kedai. Because dia melihat on the possibility of the expansion. Tapi dia tak nak membazir, dia tak nak orang datang rasa-rasa, mula-mula datang rasa banyak je kedai kosong. Tak best tempat ni. So kita akan rasa dia dipackkan dululah certain area kan. Bila dia nampak possibility untuk berkembang and so on, dia buat renovation, dia buka lagi kawasan yang kosong dekat bahagian belakang. So expand. So dia buatlah laluan whatever street, ada tempat makan kat belakang. Perasan kan? You can apply the same technique sebab untuk satu-satu housing development, especially yang fall under strata title, unit-unit yang tidak terjual itu adalah milik developer. Okay. So kalau you nak kata on a flexible housing yang boleh expand dan sebagainya, so dia akan fall kepada developer. So maksudnya ada possibility tapi tak boleh bagi sekarang. Kalau you nak, you beli. Itu possible. Itu tidak ada berlaku kecelaruan ataupun permasalahan dari segi ownership in terms of the Strata Title Act. Okay, kalau katalah semua unit tu, okay, contoh for example, satu housing, buyer yang ada dalam tu 5 orang je. Yang lain tu semua belongs to kepada developer. Kan? Okay, tapi developer kata, I rasa I nak buat benda lain lah. I dah tak nak buat ni. So dia beli balik yang 5 unit yang dia dah jual ni. So which means the ownership tu fall kepada developer balik.
So kalau
Possibility lah.
let's say lah, kalau saya nak expand the building, tu maksudnya sebelah kawasan rumah saya tu mestilah kosong dan itu dikira sebagai unit yang dijual. Jadi kalau mereka nak expand, mereka jual baru
Kita beli.
Okay.
Sebab macam saya cakap lah, bila dalam strata title ni dia ada parcel dan accessory parcel. Parcel itu adalah unit yang you dah beli dan you dah bayar, you owner dia. Ada ownership. Okay. Tapi parcel yang tidak dibeli, ownership dia jatuh kepada pihak developer. Dan accessory parcel, common property, everything itu falls under community, sharing facilities. Okay. Macam accessory parcel bukan sharing facilities. Common property adalah sharing facilities. Tetapi accessory parcel adalah unit yang digunakan secara eksklusif oleh owner of the parcel. Okay. Macam contoh mudahnya balcony lah. Boleh tak you nak guna balcony orang sebelah? Tak boleh kan? Because it belongs to dia, accessory parcel dia. Sama juga you punya aircon latch. You cakap tak mual lah, you nak letak punya aircon latch ni kat jiran sebelah lah. Sebelah je ni, tak boleh. You nak letak you punya aircon compressor tu kan, dekat aircon jiran sebelah, tak boleh. Atau macam parking. Bila you beli rumah, dia dah bagi tahu kan, assign unit. Okay, unit you, parking you tingkat berapa, nombor berapa. You tak boleh suka-suka, aku nak bagi tempat orang lain lah. Kena marah kan. Kena snap gambar masuk dalam WhatsApp. Siapa parking tempat saya? Kan, bising. Lepas tu siap report dengan Pak Gad datang claim tayar. Because it's accessory parcel. Okay, faham ya?
Okay, thank you madam.
Okay, Cik Jasami ada soalan lagi?
Yang penambahan daripada contoh tadi, contoh dekat Zainal tadi, bila kata developer bagi extend, itu extension tu masuk sebagai kita punya dalam title ke ataupun macam mana?
Tak, dia tak masuk dalam title you lagi. Bila you beli baru dia masuk dalam title. Okay. Sesuatu parcel ini dia boleh disatukan. For example, you beli 2 unit yang sebelah, you kalau maksudnya same ownership kan, you boleh pecahkan dia punya dinding tengah. You boleh satukan dia. Dan you boleh pisahkan dia balik. Okay. Tapi satu parcel sedia ada tu tak boleh pecahkan kepada 2. Tak boleh. Gabung boleh. Gabung maksudnya 2 parcel menjadi satu. That is boleh, dibenarkan. Sebab tu saya cakap tadi, kalau katalah nak buat
maksudnya combine boleh lah. Combine 2 title boleh.
Boleh. So maksudnya bila katalah macam Zahil kata nak buat flexible housing kan. Okay, you dah beli. Tapi you ada flexible space sebelah dia. So bila dia beli, baru dia boleh gabung, dia boleh expand. Selagi dia tak beli yang kosong tu, dia tak boleh expand.
Baik. Satu soalan lagi. Dalam kita buat planning, macam sebagai contoh balcony, apa beza kita nak letak balcony dulu dalam main parcel dengan accessory parcel? Apa efek dia?
Balcony dia memang accessory parcel. Dia bukan macam kita boleh membuat pilihan dia nak jadi parcel atau accessory parcel. Balcony terminologis dia kalau di dalam Strata Title Act, dia memang jatuh di dalam kumpulan accessory parcel. Kerana kita ada House of Rules yang mana parcel itu perlu mengikut guidelines yang ditetapkan for that community. Contoh, balcony dia punya railing mesti colour yang sama. You tak boleh tukar pun cat luar colour dia kan. Yang you boleh tukar cat warna dalam rumah. Betul tak? Cat luar rumah you tak boleh tukar. Jadi benda-benda yang tak boleh tukar ada House of Rules ini memang dia tertakluk di dalam definasi accessory parcel. Macam saya cakap tadi parking tu lah. You nak buat parking you ada lampu lap lah. You nak buat parking you ada garaj sendiri lah. Pintu masuk lah. Tak boleh. Because dia accessory parcel. Okay? Clear ya? Okay. Ada apa-apa soalan lagi? If not, then I will pass to Dr. PC back on the lecture input pagi ni.
Okay, thank you very much, Architect Shah. for the interesting and comprehensive inputs about the housing typologies. Hopefully, students you getting the insights regarding to the housings. Okay, so I think if there is no other questions, perhaps later on, all the students can back to your respective panels. Okay, and for thesis student, yeah, you may trying to approach your supervisors, okay, for the supervision sections. So I think that we end our sessions today. Once again, thank you very much, Architect Shah, for the sharing. Okay,
Welcome.
all right. So students, don't forget to fill in your attendance. Okay, I've shared the links at the chat box there. Okay, so please fill it
Sisi,
in.
kita ambil satu gambar.
Yeah, sure. Itu saja yang buka kamera. So please, students, switch on the camera. Jasamil, Intan, Faiz, Nick, Alia, Rachel, Sawa, Xingyan. Please switch on your camera. Okay, all right. So how about others? Intan, Faiz, Alia, Jasamil. Okay. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more time. Mom, 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Architect Shah and all the students. So see you again. I think after Raya, right? So don't forget about Architect Shah. Do you want to make announcements regarding to the Raya thingy?
As mentioned earlier, for the Raya, we will be celebrating the Creek 2 with the Raya celebration. So now we are trying to place an order for the food. That your lecturers will chip in a big portion, okay? But still, the students need to pay, but inshallah in a small portion, not to the according to per head ni lah, per head punya charges, okay? So this is the first time that PCC is organizing such event, and I am trying to invite our pengarah, Dr. Alice, if she is around in KL. I would like her to join also, so that you can meet up your ni lah pengarah program face to face. But it's subject to her availability. Okay. InsyaAllah raya food lah. Okay, ada nasi lemak pula. Nasi impit with all the rendang. Ketupat tak adalah. Ketupat mahal sangat kalau kita nak tempah. So nasi impit is fine lah. Okay. And if you guys wants to bring some kuih raya, okay, it is also encouraged so that we can have a session untuk makan-makan and so on. I think mungkin Dr. PC nak brief sikit tak about on the how we are going to conduct the session next Great, yeah. Because it's going to be different sikit kan from the one that we had previously.
Yeah, regarding to the creeds, I think in the morning we're going to start first until lunch hour lah. So kalau dapat, I think we trying to restrict the times for each student presentations. So for thesis students, since you are in thesis stage, so please print out your works, okay, in A4 size papers, but it will be, the line drawing should be enough already, okay? And if you have some kinds of like theories parts you wish to present, you can present on slide, or you may print out in like A4 size. As long as it's legible, we can read that. Okay, then it's fine. So we can save our times over there lah. Then for pre-thesis students, okay, we limit the time for presentation. You can still stick with the slide presentations. Okay, so hopefully we can finish by around 1 o'clock. Then we sambung with our Raya piece lah after that. All right, students, everyone. So please wear baju raya, is it? Baju raya.
Yeah,
Okay.
wear your nice baju raya. Dah 2 tahun tak pakai baju raya proper kan. So this is the time. Alright, that's
Okay.
all.
All right. See you guys. Okay. After Raya. Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.